As a 12th grader nearing the end of high school, I spent years trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. Sure, I could handle most of my school subjects, but I had no idea where my true passions lay. Over time, I started exploring my options, and let me tell you, with all the career paths that were out there, it can feel very overwhelming. Then one day, I got this simple assignment. It was to build a rocket at home using basic materials. It sounded very easy to me, but soon I found myself elbow deep in the process. The vinegar fizzed and bubbled violently, filling the air with that sharp, tangy smell, while the baking soda just clumped up and refused to mix properly. One attempt after another, all ended in failure. Foam spilled everywhere, soaking my hands and making a sticky mess. In one attempt, the bottle spun around like a wild top, hissing loudly instead of launching. I remember sitting on the floor that day, surrounded by all of these failed designs and sticky foam, and feeling like just giving up. But then I realized I wasn't failing. I was learning. Every single mistake was teaching me something new. So I decided to give it one last shot. And that time, I heard that satisfying pop as the bottle soared up into the sky. The cool air blew into my face, and in that moment, all I could feel was pure joy. I had done it. That rush of pride, that realization that I'd fixed the problem all on my own, it changed everything for me. I knew then and there, I loved experimenting and solving problems in my own way. That is the moment I knew science was my thing. And just like that rocket experiment taught me resilience, similar hands-on experiences can shape students and their futures in ways that extend far beyond the classroom. What I mean is, if we had more of this kind of learning in high school, it could change everything. When students actually do things instead of just memorizing facts, they start making real connections. They learn to think on their feet, they learn to solve problems, and they learn to collaborate with others effectively. These are skills that are essential for thriving in today's world. They are skills that unleash students' potential to change the world around them for the better. And whether it's a lab experiment or an extracurricular activity, getting hands-on can help students figure out what excites them, what they are good at, and what they might want to do for the rest of their lives. Now let's take STEM as an example. Instead of just reading about chemical reactions in a textbook, what if students could create their own experiments? What if they could watch the bubbling reaction as it unfolds before their eyes and solve problems with their own hands? This would teach science, yes, but it would also build resilience and innovation, skills that stick with you for life. But the benefits of practical education don't stop there. In literature class, for example, students can stage dramatic interpretations of novels. Take Hamilton, for instance. Students can perform selected scenes focusing on the debates between Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson as they discuss the nation's financial system. This lets them explore themes of leadership, revolution, and the foundations of democracy, all while fostering creativity, teamwork, and public speaking skills. Imagine exploring a book's themes not through essays alone, but through costumes, dialogue, and set design, immersing students in the story. And history could be more immersive too, like if students could reenact debates over the 1964 Civil Rights Act, stepping into the shoes of figures like Martin Luther King Jr. and Lyndon B. Johnson. They could grapple with arguments about systemic change, voting rights, and inequality. And by experiencing the tension and the passion of this pivotal moment, students don't just learn history, they live it, gaining insight on critical thinking and diplomacy. And the same goes for the arts. Mural projects can give students the opportunity to represent pressing issues, all while building something meaningful for their community. And these examples, they're not just hypothetical, they are backed up by research. A study conducted in 2023 by King Dao Su and colleagues found that students who engaged in hands-on activities performed better academically and became way more confident in their problem-solving abilities. The study also involved group learning, which may have contributed to teamwork skills. And real-life education systems are already making this work. Finland's project-based learning model is one of the top-ranked in the world, and Germany's vocational training program has helped keep youth unemployment low. Singapore also provides a great example with its inquiry-based learning approach, emphasizing science and math. And it is no coincidence that Singapore consistently ranks among the top-performing countries in global education assessments. And then there's Elon Musk. He didn't learn about technology by only flipping through textbooks. He learned by diving in head first. As a child, he taught himself programming, he built his own video games, and he even spent hours experimenting with anything he could get his hands on. Let's be honest, he probably drove his parents crazy, but that same curiosity is what led him to launch SpaceX and Tesla, changing the future of space travel and renewable energy. It is undeniable proof that hands-on learning can lead to world-changing innovation. Now let's talk about memory for a second. Think back to the last science lesson that really got you hooked. Can you still remember the thrill of discovery, or did it all just blur together as another set of facts? Studies show that active participation can make all the difference. A study in 2014 by the University of Chicago tested this idea. Students who got hands-on experience with a science concept scored 7% higher on average than those who only watched. And brain scans showed that the hands-on learners processed information in a way that really made it stick. When they recalled these concepts, it was like these students saw and heard them as if they were there in real time. And right now, I know some of you might be thinking, this all sounds amazing, but is it really? But what if my school doesn't have the resources for fancy labs or expensive equipment? Here is the good news. Creativity can fill that gap. Hands-on projects don't always have to be expensive. Students can make wind-powered vehicles using paper, straws, or cardboard, and they can use recycled materials for experiments. Additionally, many underfunded schools have successfully used crowdfunding platforms to fund art supplies, STEM projects, and virtual lab subscriptions. This approach filled the resource gap and proved that where there's a will, there's a way. It showed that innovation in education is all about making the most of what is available. And of course, some may argue that practical learning can't replace the essential theoretical knowledge that we rely on. And they're right, because it is not supposed to. Theory is the map, and practical learning is the journey which brings it to life. Together, they create a complete education. And practical learning sounds nice, doesn't it? But is it really necessary? A few decades ago, I'll admit, maybe it wasn't. But today, it absolutely is. The world is moving faster than ever, and the job market needs innovators, problem solvers, thinkers, and with the rapid evolution of technology, it is more important now than ever that students get a chance to catch up. So with that, I ask you, what kind of education do we want for the next generation? Teachers, I urge you, introduce hands-on projects into your lessons, even if it's just a few a year. Encourage students to think outside the box, to fail, and to learn from those failures. Policymakers, it is time to prioritize hands-on learning. Fund schools to build virtual labs, offer effective internships, and support projects which foster creativity. Don't allow school labs to gather dust any longer, but give students the tools and the opportunities to turn knowledge into action and to bring their ideas to life. Parents and communities, advocate for experiential learning. Show students that learning doesn't stop at the classroom door, but it continues in the world outside. And students, take charge of your own education. Experiment, build, question, explore. Don't wait for someone else to hand you the answers. Go out and find them yourselves. Let's stop pushing students to follow the same worn-out paths. Instead, let's give them the tools to carve their own. When we empower them to experiment, to create, and to explore, we're not just shaping better students, we're shaping future innovators and leaders. The world is moving forward, and education needs to move with it. So let's start now. Let's make learning something that sticks, something that excites, something that lasts, because when we give students the chance to learn by doing, we're not preparing them for the future, we are letting them build it. And that future starts today with us. Thank you.